Reflecting on loneliness in old age. As we grow older, there are moments when we sit in a quiet room, the sound of our own breathing, the only noise that fills the space. In the beginning, that stillness may feel like a welcome respite, a break from the noise, the chaos, and the demands of the world. It's a time to think, to rest, and maybe even to enjoy the peace that comes from solitude. But after a while, that same silence begins to feel different. It becomes louder, more oppressive. It echoes in the corners of your mind, amplifying the feeling that something is missing. You might look around and realize that the house, once filled with the laughter and chatter of children, of friends, of family, now feels too big, too quiet, too empty. The familiar faces have gone, or they've simply moved on, leaving you with memories of moments that once were. This isn't an uncommon feeling. Loneliness doesn't just creep up on us when we're physically alone. It settles in when we feel disconnected, as if the world is moving forward without us. This isolation can be profoundly emotional, and it's not always easy to pinpoint what causes it. It's the absence of voices, of presence, of purpose. Take, for example, a story shared by a woman in her 70s who lives alone in a small town. Her children, who once lived close by, now have families of their own, their lives filled with commitments that leave little room for visits. Her friends, too, have either passed away or moved to warmer climates. Her daily routine, once filled with interactions, whether at the grocery store or chatting with the neighbor, has dwindled to near silence. At first, she thought she would enjoy the quiet. But soon, she began to realize that her house felt like a tomb rather than a home. There were no conversations to look forward to, no one to ask about her day or to share her thoughts with, and while she sat in her living room, the quiet only seemed to grow louder. However, it's important to remember that loneliness is not just the physical absence of people, it's the absence of connection. This feeling is experienced by many, even when surrounded by others. It's about missing the deeper connection, the feeling of being seen, heard, and valued. And it's in these moments of loneliness that we are called to reflect on our own lives, not just the losses we've suffered, but the many blessings and opportunities that still lie ahead. There's a deeply profound truth that many overlook. Even when it feels like the world has gone quiet, your life still matters. You still matter. The challenge is not to avoid loneliness, but to find ways to rediscover meaning in solitude. And in doing so, to remind yourself that while the world may feel still, there is always room for growth, joy, and connection, even in the quietest moments. This chapter, while softer and quieter, has its own kind of magic, waiting to be discovered. So if you find yourself sitting in silence, don't despair. Embrace it. Because in this stillness, you may just find the opportunity to reconnect, not only with others, but with yourself. Embrace structure in your day. When we live alone, the freedom that comes with it can feel both liberating and daunting. There are no schedules to follow, no appointments to attend, and no one knocking on the door to tell you what to do. At first, this newfound freedom can feel like a gift. The absence of routine allows for spontaneity, for days that blend into one another without pressure or expectation. But as time passes, you may begin to notice something unexpected. Without structure, the days begin to blur together. It becomes difficult to remember when you last stepped outside, when you last ate a proper meal, or when you last did something meaningful for yourself. Take the example of Mrs. Peterson, a woman in her late 70s who had spent much of her life working in a busy office. After retirement, her husband passed away, and she moved to a smaller home. In the beginning, she relished the freedom from the clock, no more rushed mornings or deadlines. But soon, she found herself waking up at odd hours, staring out the window for long stretches of time, unsure of what to do next. Some days, she didn't even bother getting dressed. The days felt long, and even though she was physically alone, she felt mentally adrift. She realized that the lack of routine was affecting her well-being, so she decided to start small. She began by waking up at the same time each morning. It wasn't about following a strict schedule, but rather creating a sense of consistency. She made her bed every morning, which surprisingly made her feel like she had accomplished something before even starting the day. Mrs. Peterson also established a morning ritual. She would sit by the window with a cup of tea, watching the sunrise. This simple act became a moment of peace and reflection, a time when she could connect with herself before the day began. Gradually, she began adding small activities to her day, reading for an hour in the afternoon, taking a short walk around the neighborhood, calling her daughter to catch up, or even spending time with her plants. These small, intentional actions gave her a sense of purpose and allowed her to reclaim the rhythm of her days. No longer did she feel as though time was slipping away from her. Instead, she was beginning to shape her day with intention, filling it with moments of connection, self-care, and meaning. The truth is, having a structure doesn't mean rigidly planning every moment of your day. It's about creating a framework that allows you to feel in control and gives your life direction. It's easy to fall into the trap of aimlessly passing the hours when you're alone. But by adding a simple sense of structure, whether it's waking up at the same time, taking a walk, or even starting the day with a comforting routine, you can begin to bring a sense of order and purpose back into your life. When you make small plans for yourself each day, you not only help prevent the days from blurring together, but you also set the foundation for emotional well-being. Structure, while subtle, can provide a sense of accomplishment, reduce anxiety, and help you find joy in the ordinary moments. It might not seem like much, but those small shifts, a morning ritual, a walk, a conversation, build a routine that supports you emotionally and physically. And in doing so, you create space for meaning in your life, even in the quiet moments. So embrace structure, not as a burden, but as a way to take back control and breathe life into your days. It doesn't have to be perfect or complicated. It just needs to be intentional, and it can start with something as simple as a cup of tea by the window. Reclaim your space. When you live alone, your home becomes more than just a physical structure. It becomes a reflection of how you feel inside. And over time, if we're not careful, our environment can start to mirror our emotional state, especially when we feel isolated or disconnected. A home filled with clutter, dust, and disorganization can unintentionally contribute to feelings of sadness or a lack of motivation. Rooms that once felt alive with activity now sit empty, gathering dust, and the spaces that once held memories and comfort start to feel more like abandoned places. Consider the story of Mr. Gonzalez, a retired teacher in his 80s. After his wife passed away, his home, once filled with her laughter and the sounds of their children visiting, began to feel increasingly empty. At first, he didn't notice how much the mess was affecting him, but one day, as he walked through his house, he realized that the walls seemed to be closing in on him. The living room that once buzzed with family gatherings was now filled with old furniture and things that no longer held meaning. There were boxes of items he hadn't used in years. He hadn't touched the piano that his wife loved to play. The windows were covered with curtains, blocking out natural light, and the shelves were piled with papers, books, and forgotten mementos. Mr. Gonzalez felt overwhelmed. He knew that something needed to change, but the task of decluttering seemed insurmountable. But he also knew that he needed to take action, even if it was just a small step. So he started with one corner of his living room. He took the time to clear it, wipe down the surfaces, and allow some light to flood the space. He framed a photograph of his late wife, one of their happiest moments, and placed it on the mantel. Slowly, the living room began to transform. What he didn't expect was how much that small change affected him. As he looked at the space he had cleaned, he realized that reclaiming his environment helped him reclaim a piece of himself. His home no longer felt like a place of loss. It became a space for remembrance and healing. He began opening the windows each morning to let fresh air in, and he started playing music again, letting the melodies fill the space. Your surroundings have an incredible influence on how you feel. A cluttered, neglected space can make you feel trapped in your own emotions, but a space that's cared for can help uplift your spirit. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Start with small changes. Maybe it's clearing one surface or adding a splash of color with a fresh plant. Letting in natural light or bringing back objects that hold fond memories can create a warm, inviting space. As you make your home a place that nourishes you, your emotional landscape will begin to shift. Every small change you make to your environment will feel like a step toward reclaiming your life. By giving yourself a comfortable, organized space, you give yourself permission to feel good again, to thrive, and to feel at peace in your own home. It's not just about having a clean house. It's about having a home that supports your well-being, that reflects the person you are and the life you've lived. And the best part is that you can make it yours again, one corner at a time. Move your body. As we age, it's easy to slip into a routine of sitting. We sit to watch television, to read, to eat, and even to think. The longer we stay in one place, the more tempting it becomes to remain seated, to stay inactive. But our bodies, no matter how old they are, still crave movement. It's not just about staying physically healthy. Movement is essential for maintaining our energy, mood, and overall sense of vitality. Consider the example of Mrs. Thompson, a woman in her 80s who had spent the last few years of her life living in a comfortable routine of minimal activity. After the passing of her spouse, she often found herself sitting for hours, staring out the window. While she didn't feel physically ill, the inactivity began to take a toll. Her energy decreased, and she started feeling sluggish. The idea of exercising felt daunting, and the thought of going to the gym was overwhelming. But one day, she decided to start small. She began with gentle stretches every morning, waking up and stretching while still in bed. At first, it was just simple stretches, reaching for the sky, rolling her shoulders, and gently stretching her legs. It didn't take long for her to feel the difference. She felt less stiff and more awake. The next step was taking a walk around the block, something she had done regularly in the past, but had stopped doing over the years. Each step felt like a victory, and with time, her walks grew longer. As she moved her body more, she began to notice something remarkable. Her mood lifted. She felt more energized and mentally clear. Her daily walks became an opportunity to reconnect with her surroundings, enjoying the flowers in her neighbor's garden, the birds chirping, and the rhythm of her own breath. Movement wasn't just about fitness. It was about feeling alive, about reconnecting with her body and the world around her. Movement is more than just exercise. It's energy, it's vitality, it's joy. It doesn't have to be intense or strenuous. Even a few simple movements a day, whether it's stretching, walking, or dancing to your favorite song, can have profound effects. Your muscles, your joints, your heart, and your mind all benefit from this simple act of moving. Even if it feels challenging at first, remember that every small step counts. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about taking care of the body you have, moving in a way that feels good for you. Whether you're walking around your neighborhood or simply swaying to music in your living room, you're honoring your body and your spirit. Your body hasn't forgotten how to move with strength and grace. It just needs a little reminder. So take that first step today. Stand up, stretch, move. Let your body remind you that you are still strong, still capable, still full of life. Movement is a gift you can give yourself, and it's one that will nourish you in ways you can't yet imagine. Connect with others. When you live alone, it's easy to feel as if you've been forgotten. You might start to believe that people are too busy with their own lives to notice you, or that your presence no longer matters. But here's the truth. Connection isn't about waiting for someone to come to you. It's about reaching out, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's about making the first move and showing others that you care. Let me share the story of Mr. Carter, a gentleman in his 70s who found himself feeling increasingly isolated after his wife passed away. His children lived far away, and his close friends had either moved or passed on. For weeks, he didn't speak to anyone outside of brief encounters at the grocery store. He started to feel like a ghost in his own life, unnoticed and unheard. But one day, he realized that he could make a change. He decided to take a step toward reconnecting with others. Mr. Carter called an old friend, someone he hadn't spoken to in years. It felt awkward at first, as though he was interrupting something important. But when his friend picked up the phone, their conversation flowed as if no time had passed. They shared memories, laughed, and even made plans to meet up for a coffee. That simple act of reaching out broke the silence he had been living in, and for the first time in a long while, he felt seen and valued. It reminded him that connection isn't about waiting for someone to knock on your door. It's about having the courage to knock on theirs. The key to overcoming loneliness is recognizing that you can still create meaningful relationships, no matter your age. It doesn't always have to be a grand gesture. Small acts of connection, whether it's a phone call, a text message, a smile to a neighbor, or joining an online group, can have a profound impact. It's easy to assume that no one cares, but in reality, many people are craving connection just as much as you are. Take time to reach out. Start by calling someone you haven't spoken to in a while, or even just greeting the cashier with a smile. Invite a neighbor for tea, or sign up for a community group or activity. The more you put yourself out there, the more you'll find that there are people who still want to connect with you, who value your presence. It can be scary at first, especially when you feel like no one notices. But remember, you have the power to create the connections you need. And sometimes, all it takes is that first step, whether it's a word, a gesture, or simply showing up. You're not invisible. You're still here, and your voice still matters. Reach out, and you'll find that others are waiting to hear from you, too. Even in times of solitude, the world is filled with people who are longing for the same connection you are. Don't wait for someone to come to you. Take the first step, and you might be surprised at how many hands are ready to meet yours. Express yourself through writing. When you're alone, it's easy for your thoughts and emotions to feel bottled up. There may be times when you don't have someone nearby to talk to, or perhaps it feels like no one would really understand. In these moments, one of the most healing things you can do is to express yourself through writing. Writing gives you a space to release your thoughts, your memories, and your emotions without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. Think about the example of Helen, a woman in her 80s who, after losing her partner of 50 years, found herself struggling with loneliness and grief. She didn't have anyone to confide in, and her emotional burden felt too heavy to carry. But one day, a friend suggested she start a journal, a place where she could write about her day, her thoughts, her memories. At first, Helen felt awkward and unsure. She wasn't a writer, and she didn't think her thoughts were important enough to record, but she decided to give it a try. She started small, writing just a sentence or two each day. Sometimes it was about a memory that popped into her mind, perhaps a trip she took with her husband, or a simple moment of joy they shared. Other times, it was about how she was feeling that day, the emptiness she was experiencing, or the quiet that seemed to fill her house. What Helen didn't expect was how much relief writing brought her. Each day, as she put pen to paper, she felt a little lighter. The words allowed her to process her grief and make sense of her emotions. Over time, Helen's journal became more than just a way to express her feelings. It became a source of comfort. It helped her reconnect with the person she once was, with the parts of her life that still had meaning. When the weight of loneliness grew too heavy, she would open her journal and pour out her heart, knowing that she didn't need to hold everything inside anymore. Writing became her safe space, a place where she could freely explore her emotions without fear of burdening others. Your story matters, too. Whether it's journaling about your day, recording memories of loved ones, or even writing letters to people who are no longer with you. Writing allows you to process emotions in a way that speaking sometimes can't. It also gives you a chance to reflect on your life, to remember the good moments, the lessons learned, and the strength you've gained. Your words can live on in those pages, capturing parts of your journey that may one day help others who feel just as alone as you do now. Don't worry about writing perfectly. This isn't about creating something for others to read. It's about giving yourself the space to feel and express. Start by writing just one memory a day, or jot down how you're feeling, even if it's a simple thought. Write it for yourself. And who knows, maybe one day someone will read your words and feel less alone because of what you shared. Your voice, your story, still matters, even if you're the only one who reads it. And in the quiet of your own room, the act of writing may just help you feel more connected to the world once again. So grab a pen and paper, or open a digital document, and let your thoughts flow. You'll be surprised at how much healing can come from a simple act of expression. Writing is not just about recording the past. It's about giving meaning to the present and finding peace in your own story. Practice self-kindness. As we age, our inner voice can often become critical. The longer we live, the more we collect regrets, memories of mistakes, or the sorrow of loss. These thoughts can grow louder in the silence of our solitude, creating an internal narrative that tells us we are not enough or that we are invisible. We may tell ourselves, "I'm useless, I'm forgotten," or "no one cares anymore." But here's the truth. Your inner voice doesn't have to define you. You have the power to change the conversation. The more you practice self-kindness, the more natural it will feel to treat yourself with love and respect. And in doing so, you'll build the emotional strength to face the challenges of aging, to embrace solitude, and to find peace in the quiet moments of life. Self-kindness isn't just a luxury. It's essential for your well-being. It's the fuel that helps you keep going, even on the days when loneliness or sadness tries to take hold. Remember, you deserve kindness, especially from yourself. You are worthy and you are enough. As we grow older and navigate the changes that come with living alone, it's easy to feel like time is slipping away, and the quietness around us might amplify the sense that life is passing by. Yet the truth is that this stage of life, this quieter chapter, has the potential to be one of the most fulfilling, rich, and rewarding periods of your journey. It's not about what's lost, but about what's still available to you, what's waiting to be rediscovered in the present moment. Consider the story of Mrs. Martinez, a woman in her early 80s who had spent most of her life caring for her family and working tirelessly to make a living. After retirement, she found herself alone in her apartment, with much more time than she was accustomed to. At first, she struggled with the emptiness, and the silence felt deafening. However, instead of retreating into the past or focusing on what she no longer had, she made a conscious choice. She would live fully in the present. Mrs. Martinez started with small acts, taking a walk each morning, visiting the local farmers market, and striking up conversations with people she met. She made time to learn new things, like taking an online painting class, something she had always wanted to do, but never had the time for. Every day became an opportunity to embrace something new, whether it was reconnecting with old hobbies or making new memories with friends and family. Her life wasn't about filling the silence with distractions or constantly looking forward to the next big event. Instead, it was about savoring the moments, the simple, everyday acts that make life rich. The joy of a cup of coffee in the morning, the satisfaction of completing a small task, the pleasure of reconnecting with an old friend or learning something new. Mrs. Martinez learned that the key to a fulfilling life wasn't about what she was doing, but how she was experiencing the present moment. She wasn't rushing through life anymore. She was allowing herself to truly live it. The message here is simple. Even in the quietest of moments, you have the power to create joy, purpose, and meaning in your life. It's not about waiting for things to return to how they once were, or about seeking out grand, dramatic changes. It's about being present in the now, acknowledging that you still have time to explore, to grow, to dream, and to connect with yourself and others. So, ask yourself, what small thing can you do today to feel alive? What can you savor? Who can you reach out to? The beauty of life isn't always in the big milestones. It's in the everyday moments that are often overlooked. The sound of the wind, the taste of your favorite meal, the laughter shared with a friend. You still have purpose, you still have dreams, and you still have the ability to experience life fully. Embrace the present. No matter how quiet or simple it may seem, choose to live these days, not just pass through them. Fill each moment with intention, with kindness to yourself, and with a sense of wonder for what's still to come. Life, in all its stages, holds beauty and meaning, if we choose to see it. This is not the end of your story, but rather a new chapter with more space for peace, reflection, and rediscovery. You've made it this far because you still have strength, resilience, and the will to continue. Now is your time to live fully, to embrace each day as a gift, and to remember that no matter your age, the best part of your life is still unfolding, one day, one moment, one breath at a time. And as you continue your journey, know that you are not alone. We are all walking this path together, finding purpose in the present and holding space for joy, peace, and hope. You've got this, and we believe in you.